Hey there everyone, it's Matt from Creative Reviews, and today we're with the iPhone 5. And here I have 11 points that I think differentiates this phone from other phones like this one. I would put this as a generic smartphone. This is a Motorola Droid X. It's about a 2-year-old phone with physical buttons, your large touchscreen, basically your generic Android phone or your anti-iPhone in this case. Let's start with the 11 points. The new iPhone 5 has a 4-inch 16:9 touchscreen, which I think improves upon the 4:3 aspect ratio, and I believe it was a 3.7 or 5-inch screen beforehand. It adds a little bit more screen real estate. It works when you're watching HD content, TV shows you download and other things, and now more and more applications have been optimized for this screen. I think it works out. I think it looks really great. The screen is a Retina display, so it's very sharp to begin with, but adding basically this much onto the screen has really done something for the phone. And of course, they've made this lighter and thinner. So while adding the screen has added something to this phone, let's compare it to other phones in the same category. Android phones are known for having much larger screens, as you can see here, at not the same quality, as the Retina display, but bigger nonetheless. This is a 2-year-old phone. The new Android phones are much bigger still, but in terms of looking at the screen and having it work well wherever you are, I think the iPhone 5 is doing a pretty good job. It's not as good as the OLED screens, which have really nice blacks, but it does really well. And of course, most phones don't work outside, but what are you going to do? Another point is the edge-to-edge glass screen. This is glass. It's not plastic. And it does really well against scratches. Of course, I've had people all around me suggest that you put cases on this, protective screen covers, and I have gotten a little bit of scratches. Even on the first day where I bought this, I have a scratch right here. But other than that, this has done a very good job of staying scratchless. This one does not have an edge-to-edge screen. As you can see, there's plastic accents here and metal accents all around, but not edge-to-edge. I like what they've done here, edge-to-edge glass with a bezel, a little chamfer around here. And I think it looks really beautiful. Next, instead of the glass backing which the iPhone 4 and 4S had, you now get an aluminum backing, which is not scratch-proof. If you have ever checked out CNET's Always On, they have really scratched it up and it doesn't look really good, but I believe it adds a little bit more structural support on the outside. I think it's a better looking back than your traditional or your older 4 or 4S, which only had glass and the entire back could crack if you drop it. In this case, only these two portions now can, but I think that's an improvement over the other one. Also makes it lighter too. Next is your lack of physical keyboard. Now phones, all smartphones pretty much, except for the Blackberries and maybe some of your prepaid phones, I believe from Samsung, I'm not sure if they still do it, but no smartphone really has a physical keyboard anymore. And that's just something that you're going to have to deal with unless you want to get some accessory for the phone. You're not going to run into any of them like that, except for the Q10 by BlackBerry, which is to be released in about April of 2013. So very soon you'll be able to have a touchscreen or a physical keyboard as opposed to what you have on the iPhone and every other smartphone. One thing I think is not the best is that this phone is glass in the front, aluminum on the back, but is very slippery. Nothing that's going to keep it in my hand, nothing's going to let it stick to my hand. So what I've done is I have a rubber case, that one of those bumper cases that wraps around there, and it provides a lot better grip. But right out of the box, if your hands are a little bit wet, if you're a little bit sweaty, it may slide around, and that's something that, while this phone looks beautiful, it's not something you want happening. You don't want your phone slipping out of your hands. Definitely not good. Next point, on this phone, on the entire phone, there are only a few physical buttons. I'd say 3, but you could say 4, or you can even say 5. 1, the button here to wake it up, the power button at the very top. I count the volume rocker as 1 button because it only really has one function, volume up or down, or one other function, the camera, but they both operate the camera. And then I call this one a toggle for your orientation lock or your sound silencer. And here's the old phone. 1 specified camera button, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7 at the top. 7 buttons. The thing is, none of these were customizable, which led me to believe, why not have buttons that you can customize? All buttons have their dedicated choices. The volume rocker can be used as a camera shutter, but the toggle on the side is customizable. So what they've done with less buttons is made, I think, a little bit more wiggle room than other smartphones on the market. Next, a single speaker. If you're familiar with the 4S, you saw down here that they had these 2 outlets, and I figured the same thing too when I first got mine, is that they were both speakers. One is actually a microphone and the other is a speaker, and I thought mine was not working properly, but in fact they've moved all sound to this side. It's not just a mono speaker, it's stereo, but it all comes out through one side. I'm not sure if that's alright. I know newer phones have much better sound than even a few years ago, and this one has a pretty bad sound quality on it. This would be its speaker, it comes out the back, so you have to cup it like this to have sound come out the front. But it's good at least to have a speaker on the side, so at least laying down it will create ambient sound directed towards you. But of course, just like every other product, I would prefer true stereo speakers, one here, or on the front or side of the phone. But what are you going to do? The next point is the new Lightning connector. If you're familiar with the 4 and 4S, they had the 30-pin connectors. This one sticks with a new, much smaller connector, which I think it does a great job. And hey, every once in a while things change. You gotta change with the times, gotta roll with it. I think that this makes Apple products much sleeker. Here, for example, is the iPad mini with the same connector, and that allowed for true stereo speakers on the bottom. So let's hope that that does help, and hey, in a few years everybody will have these Lightning connectors and they won't be so expensive. Next is this Retina display. Not all phones, even all smartphones, have a Retina display. They're coming to some other tablets, not from Apple, but when you want the best and the densest when you want a phone with the really dense pixels and you not even be able to see these pixels, I would say go for the iPhone. Again, OLED screens have better colors, but in terms of the way it looks, it just works a lot better. It's really clear. If only my camera would focus. But next, moving on to the fact that it was so smooth, it's because it is basically a little monolith. If you remember 2001: A Space Odyssey, you stand it up like that, you could probably see monkeys worshiping around it. But it works. Why? Because if you like clean-cut lines, this is your beauty, this is your favorite phone. But it also cries for accessories. That's why you have your bumper cases, that's why you have your flip covers, that's why you have everything around it. You know, people can change the backing if you want, but that really adds to this phone. You can get this in black or white, and it really adds to the fact that you can do whatever you want. You can customize this phone. Even though Apple doesn't release this as a customized version, you can customize this as much as you want and make it as dull or as exciting as possible. With all the cases and skins, it's a great base to have. It's a canvas for artists, I would say. And last but not least, this has iOS 6, the operating system that is, tried and true Apple's operating system for phones and tablets. It works. You have your rows, you have your folders, and you have your wallpaper. And that's really all you get. It's simple, it works, it's really intuitive, and even after that fact, easy to use day in and day out. It's a great thing to have. And again, in comparison to Android, where there's much more customization on Android, too much everything. It can become a mess if you can let yourself go, which some people do, and even myself. But even at my messiest, things still look pretty good on here. But this has been my quick look into the iPhone 5. Be on the lookout for the review. It'll be here soon. But I just want to go down these 11 points that I think differentiates this phone from other smartphones on the market. This has been Matt from Creative Reviews. Check out our blogger for all accompanying text to everything that we put up on here. Our Facebook for our updates, and Twitter and Instagram for all the random little thoughts that goes through our heads around here. So let me know what you like and what you don't like, and I'll see you guys next time.